Mm, I want to start. We're going to go back into the second paragraph of the Shema soon, but actually wanted to know your thoughts on a very serious matter, a very small question. What do you think is the theme of Jewish history? Let's look at Jewish history from Abraham until today and say, well, it's really been what's the theme? What's the main? And I'm really asking you from God's point of view. Like, what's God doing? What does God think about the Jewish people, and how is He related to the Jewish people throughout history?
If you wanted our theme, there's the joke on that, which is,
What's that?
every holiday is they tried to kill us, they couldn't, let's eat. That's basically the theme.
That's exactly what I was
2,500 years of food-centric holidays.
That's pretty profound, actually. A lot of truth to that. Okay, thank you. Yes, I take that.
Well, that's what it's off of that. You guys know that famous Mark Twain quote about the Jews, right? I should email it if you don't. He said something very profound. He said that the mystery of the Jews, that you look through human civilization, the Romans came, the Greeks came, the Babylonians came, the Egyptians came, they filled the world with all kinds of sound and wonder and left all kinds of incredible monuments. And the Jews have been through it all and have essentially beaten them all by surviving, and have not sort of been diminished in the process of time, like the other civilizations. There are no Romans anymore. There are no Egyptians anymore. Those civilizations are defunct. It's a really great quote. It just talks about it. It's also a quote about like the existence of God. Because if he looks at the Jewish presence in history, there's no rational explanation for it. That was sort of the context of what he was talking about. It's a great quote. It's a very famous one by Twain. But if I was going to give an answer, I'd say it's monotheism. I mean, the simple answer, maybe not the theme of Jewish history, but right, the Jews were the first ones to bring the idea of monotheism into humanity.
Okay, I mean,
one God in sort of
Right. I mean, my question is about history. Sorry, go.
Well, I'm saying that's a hinge point of history, is it not, for humanity? That's the sort of foundational understanding of Western civilization, isn't it? I mean, well, the tension between, that.
It could be, but can you follow that like trajectory? Like, okay, so once Abraham came and, the Jewish people were established and monotheism was in the world, then what? Like, what happened to the Jews? We went into Israel, we were kicked out. We went into Israel, we were kicked out. We out for a long time. In our days, we have a state. We're back in Israel. What's going on? Done.
I'm not.
Tell us your theory, the grand theory.
I don't know why or what for.
Okay. Thank you for the best answer. Probably the most true answer tonight.
I mean, we're supposed to maybe try, right, to fulfill some intent, right? Whether we manage that, there's the Lincoln quote, right? You often say the thing about may God be on our side, but it's may we be on God's side, right?
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Good. So let's, you know, it's, I'm going to share my screen. Oh, I gotta put up the news. They haven't moved for like a year. I think they're dead.
Yeah, it's not
I'm
looking
gonna,
good.
I'm gonna be moving them.
I won't show those to Ashley.
Just resting.
Yeah.
Just sleeping. It's beautiful plumage.
Lovely plumage, I was about to say. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. So this is interesting, right? This is what we call the second paragraph of the Shema. And, you know, it starts off, and if you obey the commandments that I enjoin you this day, you do it through love, you serve him with all your heart and soul, and then I will grant the rain for your land in its season. Can you see the screen? Is it big enough? You can get it a little bigger if you want. Well, we're all getting older. I'll grant you rain, early rain, the late rain. You'll gather in your wine and oil. I'll provide grass for the fields for your cattle, and thus you shall eat your fill. It sounds like a pretty idyllic life, at least physically, right? Take care not to be lured away to serve other gods and bow to them, for the Lord's anger will flare up against you, and he will shut up the sky so that there will be no rain, and the ground will not yield its produce, and you will soon perish from the good land that the Lord is assigning you. Okay, so in a way, you know, maybe this little paragraph is this is what it all depends on, right? And it was not intentional to cut off the first bit. And it all depends on one thing. If you obey the commandments. So meaning, in other ways of saying it, the covenant that God makes with the Jewish people is very real. God says, you know, I'm not giving you a belief. There are beliefs involved, but I'm giving you a reality. The reality is you can be my people. I'm your God. And that's an eternal covenant. And the way it's going to work is if you, right, because after all, God can do no bad. So it's all up to you. If you stick with me, you obey my commandments, fine, great. I'll bless you. I'll make this world work for you. But if you don't, there's a temptation. I understand. I've created a temptation for you, maybe. And there are other gods. So then the Lord's anger will flare up against you. And then the blessing disappears. The blessing disappears, and we're not able to stay on the land. And that is what we know as Galut. Okay? Questions, answers, theory. That's the theory of Jewish history in one paragraph in the Shema that we've probably all seen many times. What are your thoughts about that?
Why do you refer to that as history? Because that doesn't seem to contain the historic arc. I mean, if you do this and follow it, everything will be good. But there's no like telos, there's no goal or any sort of did I ask a clear question?
You might have. I just didn't get it. Meaning,
how do you see this as the history of as encompassing a history?
Oh, because think about Jewish history. There we come out of Egypt, and things are looking good, and then we do the golden calf. Instead of going into the land, we go down for 40 years. Okay, that generation dies out. Joshua comes along, bit of a renaissance, back into the land. Things are good. 400 years, 800 years in the land, and then there's a breakdown. There's idolatry. There's murder. There's adultery. We kicked out of the land for 70 years. We go to Bavel, and then we do Teshuvah, and we come back. We come back to the land, another 400 years. Things are good, but then the kind of, the Greeks come. It's a very dark time. The Hasmoneans bring us back up a little, and then it's the Romans, right? The Romans kick us out. We're out of the land for a long, long, long time, and yeah, and then the funny thing is, maybe this last return to the land does not seem, this is the question. Done. Thank you. Look at that. Now, either my history's off and all of this up to there is made up, right?
Well, yeah. Sorry.
Right? But it really does, especially, the biblical narrative. As much as we have prophecy, this is what's happening. It's all got, read the book of Judges. Look, it's all, Kinderlach, says God. I've given you every opportunity. I've told you what to do. Do it. You get the blessings. And we turn off, and we get, we're sent into Gullus and everything. This last, now what's happened now is that doesn't seem to be following the natural course, because since 1948 or prior to 1948, there was not a Teshuvah movement, right? It wasn't the mass returning of the Jews to God. It was the lowest time in Jewish history. It's the Holocaust. It's the death of 6 million Jews. After that comes now some sort of a, what is it? And maybe that's part of the, that makes modern Jewish life and modern Israel such a theologically perplexing place, right?
Yeah.
That where on the one hand you've got some rabbis saying these Zionists are heretics, they're secular, they're terrible, this is anti-Judaism. And on the other hand, you've got Rabbi Cook and a whole slew of rabbis saying, well, hang on a second, something's happening here. What is it? And he's able, Rabbi Cook in particular, is able to find great meaning in the Zionist movement. So, yeah.
I'm not sure that the Holocaust fits in neatly to this sort of idea of sort of turning away, punishment, turning back, reward, sort of a model, though, right? I mean, that's a big piece of the puzzle that this doesn't fit in this pattern, really, or at least arguably.
You know what? According to the pattern, what should have happened would have been a mass Teshuvah, right? A mass, but yeah, it didn't. So the question is, and maybe that's what Rabbi Cook's looking for and saying, well, no, you don't understand. The Zionist, that's it, which, since 1948, which group, which movement in Judaism has grown and, we're, okay, I don't know we don't have to talk about recent, but the last great Jewish movement has been mindfulness. No, joking, right? So it's a movement, right? A move. So maybe that's what Cook was so bent on, finding in that a return to God. Because otherwise you just left like, wow, this is confusing. What is going on here? Like, why, you know?
I have Israeli relatives who, for sure, their sense of it is that living in Israel is sufficient, and then the rest of it is sort of unnecessary in a sense. So, like keeping laws of kashrut, they feel like they're doing the Jewish thing by being Jews in the land, and that all the rest of it is actually not. I've heard that sentiment before. I don't know how.
Yeah, I've heard it too. It's very interesting. Where do you think it's coming from? I think there's a sentiment that some Israelis have, like they are paying the price
Yeah,
for the Jewish people in
Yep.
order that we have a land.
that's right. I think that's right.
אתה בסדר בבולטימור, כן, אבל אני סובל פה בארץ, you know, like, and I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
kasher chaim, life is tough in Israel.
very much so.
There is a point to it. I'll tell you what Rabbi Cook said spiritually. He said that we live in a, and it's not just him, many rabbis, maybe pre-war, you know, after war, I don't know, came up with this, yeah, I think it's based in the prophet somewhere. We are living through the era called Ikvasa de Meshicha. Ikvasa is the Aramaic of the Akev, right? The Akev is the heel. So the heel of the Messiah means he's about to come. He's at the door, about to walk in. His heel is here. So said Rabbi Cook, he said, you know, in Jewish mysticism, the soul of the Jewish people is like one person, right? We're all different pieces of the soul. You know, and there's a head and the body, and it really it fits the human anatomy. So he said that we are the souls of the heel. That's the generation. That's what it means. That our generation, and that's why maybe our spiritual ability to grasp God, to grasp the Torah, to really is weak. Right, we have this idea that from Sinai it's been downhill, right? You read that Hadorah, that the generations get more physical, but less spiritual, right? I think one of my more profound quotes has been, "The more we turn on the lights, the less we see the stars." And that's, you read at the Dorot, right? That's going down the generations because, yeah, of course, things physically have progressed incredibly, but that's taken a big toll spiritually. So we're the bottom, the souls over here. I know some people that I am sure they're the toenail, but okay.
No, present company excluded, I'm sure.
So says Rabbi Cook, each generation, never mind being from that part of the Jewish person, their limb, their part corresponds to the mitzvot of the day. Where do the Jewish people focus on? They said, what is the mitzvah you do with your heel? You tread on the land of Israel, right? Anyone who walks, Daled Amot, anyone that walks 4 feet in the land of Israel, Ben Olam Haba, you go straight to heaven, right? So the rest of it, yeah, it's about the land, right? That's where he found this calling. He found this, yeah, it is following history somewhat. Who knows? Anyway, that's a I think it's, obviously to some degree, this model is simplistic, right? This is not the only parsha in the Torah. But I think it is, and when you find other places in the Torah, this really is the theme of Jewish history, according to God, right? That to the degree the Jewish people are. So now my question is, if you're willing to play along with me on this, is where are we? Right? Where are the Jewish people in 2021? What percentage of Jews do you even think have even the, I don't know, what are we going to do? Do we have to get them back? Are they going to disappear? Or, people speak in very interesting ways, right? The demographics of Judaism in Chutz La'aretz, because Israel, they Jews because they live there. There's not that much intermarriage, but there's so much intermarriage in America that, I don't know, in 30 years' time, who's going to be engaged Jews, right? You're going to have to come to Pikesville, everyone.
Yeah.
That's it. Our medical academy is still going to be there. And that's why we need to invest in this institution. Okay.
But it's true. It's true. It's the Orthodox. It's the modern Orthodox. Those are the only populations that are growing and growing at a steady clip. And the conservative congregations and anything beyond that, Reform and Reconstructionist, I mean.
Done sans bar mitzvah excluded. But
yeah, but that's it's a special circumstance. That's that wasn't their choice. It's look, I think it's also so you could talk about this on multiple dimensions. It's if you're talking about sort of what we're building off of in terms of the following the commandments, right, and actual content-wise Judaism, then it's a tenuous picture. It's not a very sanguine picture. But I look at it also in a different light. People who are, I mean, talking about Israel, the connection, whether you are a Zionist or whether you are somehow subjected to a sense of cognitive dissonance by having to defend Israel amongst your kind of contemporaries or your cohorts, that you somehow feel that you have to apologize for Israel in whatever dimension, in whatever forum. And I think that is also something that's more troubling too, because you used to have conservative and Reform Jews who were somewhat, loosely connected to halacha and to mitzvot, who at least would consider themselves strong Zionists. And I'm not sure that that is the case anymore after 25 years. And that might be a harbinger of something beyond just whether or not they're doing. I mean, look, they were or they were not following the mitzvot before or after this. But the difference is now also they are becoming sort of less insistent on recognizing the need for a Jewish homeland at all.
People have had their goodness and kindness hijacked, I feel like, by the Palestinian cause. I think the way it's presented in the media here really plays at the heartstrings in a way that I just find it's very difficult to combat. And I think that's, most of those people are not doing it out of any sense of, they're trying to be good people and they're trying to express their goodness, and they've lost the narrative thread there. And I don't know how to repair that. I've seen it and it's troubling.
do you think, Don, do you think that the success and safety that Jews have experienced and largely still experience in America also has taken away that need, right? Anyone that was anywhere near the Holocaust understood the Jews needed a homeland. That was, it's interesting, my father, he should be well, he's 97 now. But for about 10 years, he really worked hard on a project where his vision, and I'm not sure where he picked it up really, but he thought this would be he's a civil engineer by profession, by the way. So to build cities and roads and dams and countries is not a problem for him. So his whole thing was, if we could just get the Americans to sponsor the purchase of a swath of land from Jordan for the Palestinian people and build them a beautiful country, they could move there and leave Israel, and we'd be happy. Everyone. It's such a good plan.
It's called Jordan. It's actually 80% Palestinian and ruled by a 20% Hashemite minority.
Yeah.
So they have that country.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
it's not, they don't get to rule it,
Right.
even though they're the majority population there.
They're
But
not
you know,
interested in moving there for
facts,
that.
it's your truth though that matters, and how you experience your truth, not really what's factual. I mean, they've been committing genocide according to, even though there's 5 million Palestinians where before there was. It's a very funny way to commit genocide to increase a population. Sorry.
Yeah. So
I don't know if you
it-
saw that Kamala Harris nonsense stuff, but and I don't know if Jason's allowed to talk about his commanders and chiefs. Sorry.
Speak your truth. Yeah. Certainly heard about it. Certainly saw that.
Yeah, that it is very troubling. And it's interesting, from a spiritual viewpoint, that, Israel hasn't, would you, yes, we've returned to the land, but is it a land where I grant the rain for the early rain, the late land, you gather in your grain, and you shall eat your fill. And you'll be satisfied. You'll be comfortable in the land. That hasn't happened, right? It's like we said. The average Israeli is saying, why am I suffering over here?
Well, they've got the grain and they've got the wine and they've got the oil.
Yeah.
I mean, they've made the deserts bloom.
Exactly.
They have done tremendous work in that country and have transformed it. I mean, I remember when I visited, it's been a very long time since I've been, but the toilet paper was like sandpaper. It was unbelievable.
Amazing
The
what you remember.
Supermarkets had like 2 things in them.
Amazing. Don.
And
all the examples that you could go to for material progress, you go right to the.
sorry, do you remember what the toilet paper was?
I remember.
Were you in that toilet in
It wasn't in
Bengal?
ply, it was in grit. That's what you bought it.
Yeah, the Home Depot standards. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
flourished in a lot of ways, and it has been a homeland. And it's I mean, in the 80s, the Russian influx was tremendous.
Right. Right.
And recently French, and it absolutely. Why do you say have they? Are you saying that they haven't gotten that they're?
Well, no, I'm saying this lack of peace, this thorn in the side of Israel being a.
But that's not said anywhere here, right? Like there's no mention here. It's not like Hashem is promising that you won't have enemies, right? There's an Amalek in every generation, and there's no promise here that the covenant means that people aren't going to be attacking the people of Israel, or I mean, it's talking about.
Not here. I think I could bring you other verses to show you that is the promise.
That is, huh?
Yeah.
Secure in the land without attack, without enemy, without fear of outside sort of.
Yeah, and should you be attacked, I'll give you such prowess that your enemies will scatter.
Well,
Israel has a nuclear deterrent against Iran, and we're messing with their nuclear program, and we are. I mean,
look, it's been, the country's still around. I mean, my parents worry whether it'll last another generation or not, but I mean, And maybe everyone will, and will continue from generation to generation like that. But
Yep.
I don't know. The Abraham Accords were sort of promising. I think the common enemy of Iran has sort of opened up possibilities. I mean, we live in much more peaceful times than ever. Whether this conflict will resolve itself, I think the amount of international attention, the way it's played through the world, and how it's played and why, that's the other question. Like, why is this the international story all of the time
Mm-hmm.
when conflicts of this type fester in parts of the world that you never hear about? But this is the one that draws the attention. It's because, I mean, I don't know, because it's the Jews. Do you think?
I do. I think it has a big part to do with it, but I don't want to lead us off topic. But yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I don't know if it's
Because, well, of course it's because it's the Jews. You know, because the Palestinians in,
Jew.
as you just said, in Jordan,
You don't hear about it.
they don't get
Right.
nothing. You
Yeah.
know. So you know, then the question becomes, well, is it anti-Semitism? Is it a fascination? Is there, you know, what is it?
What is it?
I guess the sense that it's a mystery and that it seems not to follow the normal or other course of other nations gives it you know, opens up to some sort of a spiritual explanation, right? That's for sure. Okay, let's do a few of the inside sources. There's a bit of learning, as they say, in the yeshivas. Okay, so what have we got over here for you guys? Okay, I think we saw this last time. Oh, there we go, Rashi, right? I will give the rain of your land in its season. You will have done what devolved upon you. I too shall do what devolves upon me. Right? I gave you the opportunity. I said, okay, you follow me and then I will bless you. That's the faith that we need to have. Okay, and here we go. I will maintain my covenant between me and you and your offspring to come. This is to Abraham. As an everlasting covenant throughout the ages to be God to you and to your offspring to come. I assign the land you sojourn in to you and your offspring to come, all the land of Canaan, an everlasting holding. I will be their God. Okay, here's an interesting thing. It's a bit of a discussion, but Rabbi Yaakov says, Cha mitzvah b'hai alma leika. That's good Aramaic here, right? Sachar is the reward of a mitzvah. B'hai alma, in this world, leika, there is not. There's no reward for a mitzvah in this world. And I think the commentary over here is right, as one is rewarded for mitzvot only in world to come. Right? Now, what's the logic for that? Rabbi Dessler explains. He says, "Listen, you know, when you got a kid, you give him candy. When people grow up, they want something else besides candy, right? We get a little bit more sophisticated." So he said, what's the real reward of a mitzvah is a connection to God, right? There's a closeness to God. It's paradise. So this world, the word in Hebrew for world is olam. So the Sfas Emes, one of the great Hasidic writers, says it's the root over here is Elaim, which also means mute, but it's related to the word helem, which means void. A helem is a void. It says this world is called the olam because there's a void here. We don't see God, right? God is hidden in our world. So, what are you going to get in this world already? You can only drive one Maserati at a time, right? You just can't drive two. You can only live in a very fancy house now in North DC, might I say, Baruch Hashem. But you can, you've only got, you got Dalit Amos, man. That's all we take up. We take up, 6 feet. That's all a human being can ever take up. It's no point to give a person reward in this world. So the reward is waits for the world to come. Okay. So what do we do with the Shema? How do we, okay, Rabbi Yaakov, didn't you just say the Shema this morning, last night, tonight?
Wait. Didn't you just tell us that if we do the commandments, we're going to get rain and we're going to get our oil and our wine and all that stuff?
There you go. Very good, right? The Shema says, obey my commandments and you're going to get the good stuff. Okay. And by the way, everyone agrees that if you follow, if you don't follow the commandments, then in this world, you're going to get punished. That's no one has a problem with that. The only problem is, is there reward for mitzvot in this world? You have a question, Gil?
No, I did. It was. I forgot what it was going to be. No, something was not quite right there. Oh, earlier about yeah. Sounds very Christian to me. It sounds very Christian to me. The fundamental thing about Judaism is that you're not doing it for a reward in the hereafter, right? That's sort of the Christian idea, is that we focus on good works because that is what your gift is going to be in Olam Haba. So it's a bissel Christian on the surface.
That's interesting you say that. So there was, let me try to find it here.
I mean, that's the whole thrust, right? Jesus, it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven than it is for camel to pass through the eye of a needle and all that stuff. It's like the whole intention of your life is to earn up the spiritual rewards in the hereafter, right? And Judaism is sort of it's antithetical to that idea. It's you do the mitzvot to do the mitzvot here in the world today, and your ethical life here for its own sake.
Well, does the world to come mean heaven in this context? Just a quick, context check. When they say the the world to come, that does mean.
Yeah.
Yes and no. It means an eternal world, right? So whether we'll be in heaven eternally or whether there's some sort of a resurrection of this world for eternity.
Okay, but it doesn't mean in the world that follows you, like in the world that your descendants inherit and the.
No. It's I hear your interpretation. No, it classically means you will go to another world, right? There's a world that's coming after this world. And in very much as a result of this world, right? It's how you.
That sounds like the future. The way you described it, as a result of this world, that sounds like the future.
But it could be eternal, Don. It could be something that's outside of time, outside of temporal.
Sure, but if you agree to that, then we are already eternal, right? So if we're already out of time,
a part of you is, or arguably the part of you that's connected to God and the soul and the spirit is, yes. You're just not aware of it.
So it is both, right? Then it's in the now and in the world to come. Those are the same thing in a sense. If you take this non-temporal aspect of reality, the fact that we experience it temporally is just how we pass through the universe. But
Correct.
then if it's the whole thing, then the world to come is already, you're in it.
You are, but I think maybe there's a variability depending on how you experience your existence here and now. That it
Yeah.
could be, it's like a multiverse almost. So depending on what you do in this here and now little blip that could be a split millionth of a second will determine sort of to some extent your eternal kind of condition and state, or maybe various. Who knows? No, I don't know.
So there are two things. Let's deal with this first. So this, I guess it's fine. So Maimonides, who probably was the most rational thinking Jewish, one of the Jewish greats, says like this. Okay. The hidden good in store for the righteous is life in the world to come, which is a life connected with no death and a kind of good, I hate translations, good connected with no evil, such as described in the Torah, that it may be well with thee and thou mayst prolong thy days. Is traditionally deduced to mean to be well with thee in this world, may be well with thee in a world that's entirely good, and they may prolong thy days in the world forever. This is the world to come. The reward of the just is that they will acquire the sweetness thereof to be in such goodness, and the punishment of the wicked is that they will not share in such life, but will suffer. So this is the Maimonides idea, right? The Rambam. He says the world to come harbors neither body nor aught of a concrete form. Sorry to the aught organization. So save only the souls of the righteous divested of body as the ministering angels. Insomuch as it harbors no concrete forms, there is no need there for eating, drinking, or any other bodily necessities of the soul of sons of man in this world. Neither will there be. Basically, it's the experience of the soul connected to God. Right? Yeah. In the world to come, there's no eating, drinking, family life, save the righteous are sitting graced with garlands upon their heads and indulge in feasting upon the luminescence of the Shekhinah, divine presence. He goes on to explain it a bit. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Jill, I think you're talking, but you're muted.
Thank you, Jason. I was saying, Rabbi, can you send us a link to the spot in the Sefaria where it is, so that we can, because I want to read that closer again.
Sure.
So just make it note where you have it here.
Oh, this is interesting. There we go. This is done. This is the one I was looking for. This is Mishnah Torah Repentance 8:8.
Yeah.
I'll send you the link.
Okay.
There you go. Well, send it on the email, right?
Later. It's fine. Yeah, later.
Yeah.
As for the reason why the sages call it the world to come, now it's really it's a syllogistic term, right? The sages, it's a rabbinic term. It's not used in the prophets. It is not because it is not now in existence. It's not a future world, so that it might be inferred that this world will be destroyed and thereafter will come that world, which he's arguing with many other traditional rabbis who think that's what it means. The matter is not, for that world is and ready, right? All right, Matsui v'omed, it's already in existence, as it is said, oh, how great is thy goodness, which thou laidst up for those that fear thee, which thou hast wrought for them that take thy refuge in thee. They called it not world to come, save alone, because that life comes to man after the life of this world, wherein we exist in a body and soul, and the life is found by man first. Meaning, of course, that realm of existence exists already. We can't experience it because our body is the mechitza, is the boundary between us and that. So yeah.
So this is a heaven of spirits then, like a platonic kind of idealistic.
Yep.
A spiritual realm. I don't know if you can say much beyond that, right? I mean,
yeah, with a definite, the focus, the closeness of God is its focus. That's the tzaddikim yoshvim b'neinim miziv hashchina. The righteous sit and enjoy the presence of the Almighty. And by the way, as in yeshiva, the Rosh Yeshiva says, the world to come is a Gemara share. If you learn Gemara in this world, you're gonna love it. If you don't, it's gonna be terrible for you.
Have you ever read the thing by Mark Twain on heaven? He has this whole bit about how the preachers talk about how heaven has like choirs singing all the time, and how he's just like any normal human would hate the heaven that's talked about in the preachers. People can't sit through a concert for more than an hour or two, but yet in heaven, everyone's singing all the time. It's like always being in church, but no one ever likes to go to church. He says in his heaven, it would be like alcohol and booze and partying.
Right. Yeah. So the Rambam, he obviously knew Mark Twain's comment, and that's what
he did not want to go to Mark Twain's heaven.
I was like, no, this really is good. It's really good. Okay. Back to Gil's comment, right? So yeah, it's so first of all, it's really shocking to me that many Jews do not think that the world to come is a Jewish concept. Right? You ask the average Jew that, you ask from Jews all know about Olam Haba, right? Because at the end of the day, that's often used as an example, as a reason to do the mitzvot, right? Well, why you tell a kid why should you do the mitzvot? Because it's true. Oh, what's true, right? Do the mitzvot, you're gonna get candy at the end of the day, right? That candy in the world to come. Antigonus ish Socho. So this rabbi definitely had a Greek name. Antigonus, the man of Socho, received the oral tradition from Shema the righteous. He used to say, now be careful with the reading here. Do not be like servants who serve the master in expectation of receiving a reward, but be like servants who serve the master without the expectation of receiving a reward, and let the fear of heaven be upon you. So here it is, Gil, right? He's like, yeah, is there a reward? Yes, there is a reward. But that's not why we do it, right? In terms of serving God, we should do it what's called lishma, for that very sake. We reckon, God, this is your will, right? So we'll do your will. And God says, yes, please do my will, and do it to the highest degree possible, meaning for its own sake, for this through a recognition of the truth of it, but really what you're doing is allowing me to reward you, right? I will reward you. So there are some commentaries that say that, I think have you ever heard of the Byzantines? It was a movement within Judaism back in this time, and basically he argued, this guy, that there is no reward because he misread the Mishnah, right? He said, well, why shouldn't you serve don't be like someone that serves the master to receive reward, rather be, right? What Shelo almanat lekabel pras, right? How'd you read it? But you read it, serve God on condition not to receive reward.
Wait. I'm sorry. Pras is really the word for reward in Hebrew?
Yeah.
I thought it came in from English from the word prize my entire life until this day. That's originally the Hebrew word.
Yeah.
Ma tarotze prize?
Again.
I thought my parents were being very sarcastic. Okay, thank you.
Oh, that's funny. So by the way, it is interesting. There are two words. There's pras and there's sachar. Sachar is more like payment. Schirut is to pay rent, etc. So exactly what the difference is. There's some difference, but yeah.
That's a really weird coincidence of words, though. That prize and
Pras, yeah.
pras.
Yeah.
Just sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think there's I think someone wrote a book about all the English words that are rooted in Hebrew. It's interesting.
I wonder if that is one of them. That's curious.
Yeah. Television. I mean,
I like telephone a lot. Like Wonderphone. I think that's great.
Yeah.
That's how I think of it.
That was excellent. That was excellent. Okay. So back to our. Okay, what have we got here? We've got three things. In the Shema, let's go over it. Get the kasha straight. The erste kasha is ta-ta-ta-ti. All right? Ever heard the 4 questions in Yiddish? From the Seder?
Yeah, no, I don't think I have.
No? Oh
Not
my
in
word.
Yiddish.
It's the best.
Yiddish was Chad Gad Ya. I think that was the only part of the Seder where we broke out the Yiddish, which is actually a shame. My grandparents I'm sure they're disappointed in how diluted and thin the gruel has become with me.
You don't even know the
Well, to be fair, Yiddish was not in the Torah.
Yeah.
Until much later. It's in the back.
Yeah.
Or the front, depending how you open it.
Yiddish is sort of like German. It has these incredible descriptive abilities that are just not capable in other languages, right?
Sorry.
Oh, he's going to play it. What special torture?
I hope he comes on because it's going to be terrible if he doesn't. Let's see.
Ladino, Yiddish. Oh, okay, it's all different.
This could be interesting.
Amharic, wow, the Ethiopian, yeah.
Come on. Enough.
Any day now, Theo Bickle.
Speaker from Vienna, they have to say that Viennese.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. Anyway, it's a well-known traditional way of saying it, right? And it's called the let's see, I'm trying to get the beginning here.
Tate, we persuade the fear casted.
Yeah. So Tate, Father, I will, dich, think for you, fragen, I'm going to ask the vier kashas, the
Ashes.
4 kashas, questions, right? Difficulties. Okay, so let's ask the vier kashas. In the Shema, it says clearly, this is the way it works, right? You keep the commandments, and God rewards you. Okay. In the Talmud, it says, Tati. In the Talmud, it says there's no reward. Oh, forget it. I don't know the right place anymore. There's no reward for mitzvah in this world. So what's going on here? That's a contradiction. And then the third thing is, how does this relate to Antigonus Ish Seicha? Because he said, well, you shouldn't serve God with any expectation for reward, right? You shouldn't. I think it's a valid question on the Shema. God, you're telling. Oh, this is Moses speaking, right? Deuteronomy. Well, if you keep the commandments, then you're going to get all these blessings. Moshe, didn't you learn Pirkei Avos? Right? It says in Pirkei Avos, it says don't serve God to get reward. Why are you telling us to do this? These questions, my friends, we will tackle next week.
Boo!
Cliffhanger.
Yeah. I'm canceling my subscription. Strongly worded letter to follow.
Like one of those 1950s serials where you're like,
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
Aaron
dun,
Burrow
dun.
dangling on the edge of a precipice.
The
That bridge
true-
doesn't look very stable behind you, Rabbi. I've seen it once before. I hiked around those Marin headlands where you are there. It's Don lived there too. It's
Saw a wolf out there in the headlands one time.
yeah, right.
the real wolf?
Yeah. Hiking with
Wow.
Bob. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful place on the other side of the.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So hang on a second. I've been there, but I have no geographic sense now. This is the.
Where
Yeah.
you're on the near,
Marin
you're on the
Headlands.
Marin side.
Yeah.
Is
You're
this
looking
like where
south.
Berkeley is? Where's
No.
Berkeley?
Berkeley
Well,
is
It's on
to
the
the
east,
yeah
east of,
on the
south and east of where you are.
Uh-huh. So this side is the.
oh, if you look like in the distance, you can see another bridge through the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
That's the Bay Bridge,
And that goes over to
and that goes over to Oakland.
There?
Your head's blocking it now.
Oh,
where
yeah.
the sun is setting to the left.
Yeah, to the left of where the sun is setting. There's
Oh.
another bridge there.
there?
I can't point to it because it's not going to help you.
Oh, do you see my hand or not?
No, I don't see your hand.
Oh no, I can't.
Okay, my cursor's on it. Fine.
Yeah, you see where the
Oh, so-
sun. You see where the sun is, right? If you just go
No,
away
no.
from your head, away from your head. Yeah, that's it. You're pointing at
That's
the bridge.
right, that's
Yes.
the Bay
Now you're
Bridge.
pointing at the bridge. Yeah. I squish your head.
Kids in the hall. Nobody knows that anymore.
No.
No, I hope they do, but